Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the podcast where I interview game developers. Today I'm with Kenan from Observer Interactive. Do you want to say hi?
Hello, nice to be here.
But yeah, how's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's going good. It's always busy, always having to rush to sort things out. But yeah, it's going pretty good. It's nice to have a bit of respite to talk about games, um, rather than staring at them and trying to work on them.
Yeah, because you're working on your first studio game, aren't you? Good Boy.
Yep, we have our first studio game, Good Boy, being published by Team 17, and it's coming out in 2026. So obviously the speed is ramping up in development now.
Oh yeah, so how is it? How is the being development of that game? Do you want to describe the game first? Because then we know, for those who don't know what it is. Because I will leave a link in the description below to the Steam page as well for you as well.
Yep. So I've done this so many times now that it almost goes out of your head and then comes back as soon as you're thinking about it. Good Boy is a cozy creature collecting Petroidvania. We say Petroidvania because the entire quirk of the game kind of there's a really personal touch that we've got in there that all of our pets and dogs are all of the characters within the game. Um, Within the world of Good Boy, we have something called the Leica program, um, which basically allows people's dogs to be have their consciousness uploaded into a planetary space rover and go out and explore the stars and basically live forever. So it's a way of immortalizing all of our best friends essentially, um, in a really fun game. Um, it's got a really nice sort of heartwarming narrative, and it's sort of like these two lost souls meeting, and they both needed each other the most. When you'll meet this human that's arrived on the planet, and you'll uncover this mystery that's going on, um, and some secrets to be found, and it's there's a lot going on that I can't really talk about. It's a hard one to explain to people because the spoilers start coming thick and fast, like fairly quickly into the game. But just know that if you like creature collecting games, if you like Metroidvanias, it's definitely probably going to be your bag. It's much more approachable Metroidvania than something that you might have played before, so it's not going to have the same hard difficulty curve of something like Hollow Knight or Dark Souls or something like that. It's much more combat light and much more focused on exploration and discovery, um, and creature collecting. Um, and getting those upgrades to make you better at exploring, to make you better at capturing creatures, to make you a better space rover all round. So yeah, if you like games like Dredge, Blasphemous, Hollow Knight, any sort of 3D Metroidvanias as well, um, if you like those sorts of games, or even if you've been slightly interested in playing them but they're a little bit too difficult for you, or you don't really enjoy the difficulty curve, this is something that will really land for people there.
Okay, do you want me to show the trailer off so people can see
Yeah, you can do. It's a really old trailer now,
it?
and the game has changed so much since then. But yeah, it'd be cool for people to see.
Yeah, I'm going to show the one from the press pack that you sent me. So I'm just going to move this so it doesn't black out. And I'm going to say one thing when I saw it, it reminded me of Wally.
Yes, that's kind of on purpose. Thankfully, Disney doesn't own the IP for Cute Robot. They it's definitely one of the inspirations that we had. That sort of space rover on a planet, by themselves for a bit, finding friends. That's it's big inspirations like that. Things like Johnny Five as well. Like Johnny Five was like probably a bigger inspiration than something like Wally. But the main inspiration really was the film Oppie, which is I think on like Amazon Prime and stuff now. But it was basically trying to find somewhere to explain how we personify robots, even though they're completely cold, unfeeling machines. We somehow manage to look at them and treat them like pets. And so the natural extension of that, when people saw that Oppie was being switched off on Mars, um, NASA said that the last message it sent was, "Oh, the my batteries are getting low and it's getting dark," or something like that, and it gave it this really like they gave the rover like this real personality. Um, and then when it was shutting down, we sent over a poem. Um, there was just song lyrics from a song in the 1950s. And it sort of ended where it was like, and when we look up the stars, and I'll be looking at the stars, and I'll be thinking of you. And it was like this really nice, sort of heartfelt message that we sent over to this cold, unfeeling robot that was just wires and metal.
Yeah, it's like how it's like probably us as game developers. It's like we treat our towers like people. You don't want to spill anything on it because you don't want to get wet. You treat it, you spill something. He says, no, 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 no. It's like if it was, let's say, a brick, you wouldn't care, but
Yeah,
something you get attached to things that you use daily. It's like your phone or most people's phones. They never leave people's hands.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is that we almost impose on these like different space rovers these personalities that it felt really natural to sort of, in a world where a human brain is too complex to put into a machine. I mean, dogs make the perfect explorers, and so it would make so much sense to put the dogs into space in the rovers, and they get to live forever in the stars. And then what made it even better was the fact that we're pretty much all the developers in the studio all have dogs, so we all just put ad. We were trying when we were trying to think of the different characters and stuff. We were like, it just makes so much sense to make all the different rovers based on our dogs and give them responsibilities and personality that reflects that. So there's actually a few things coming out on social media. I think it's if you go on the TikTok, which is at Play Good Boy, um, you can actually see some of the connections and how it translated from the real dogs into game. Um, but yeah, it's probably the best part of development is the fact that we have such a close personal commitment to it. And one of the best parts of being indie as well, you don't have to, when you're in AAA or something, you're working on boss 5 on level 7. Um, but
Yeah, I
when
was
you're
gonna.
indie, you have such a close personal commitment and attachment to it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are you Do you still classify yourself as an indie studio, or do you classify yourself as a to mid studio? Because you've got on your website listed 18 people, including yourself.
Yeah,
Which sometimes when you say indie, you only think, oh, you've only got like 5 or 6 people. Where then when you think mid ones, you normally think 20 to maybe 20 to 30. Then when you're talking AAA, you're talking 50 to 200 because that's when you're doing mass employment, not niche employment. Could you send me over the TikTok? Because I've just put at Good Boy and it's not popped up.
oh, it should be at Play Good Boy.
At play, thank you. That's is it all one word?
Yeah, all one word. Um, yeah, it's really interesting what we classify ourselves as now. Believe me, the like we were booking the Christmas party recently and realized, oh wow, that's a lot of people. um, which is great. Like it's a real testament to the success that we've had as a studio that we were able to grow to that point. But we're definitely still an indie team. Like not every person in the studio is working on Good Boy. I think probably nearly everyone's touched it at some point, but like in terms of like permanent full time developers on Good Boy, we're probably less than 8 people that are working on the game now. Um, and I think that's it's sort of a testament to us trying to run the studio as sustainably as possible and not falling into the same pitfalls that a lot of other people fell into during the sort of big market crash that happened a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Um, we have multiple projects on the go, multiple funded projects, and we still do co-development as well. There's a part of the studio, probably about 15 to 20% of our studio is working on co-development projects with other people as well. So we have like a good balance for the sustainability of the studio and keeping it afloat and managing to. We always said we never wanted to just grow and grow and grow and grow. Um, there's a sense of we've still got a real sense of indie development in the studio, and I think that's been really important for us to keep.
Yeah, because it's like you mentioned, you're doing co-development. It helps with a source of income because let's face it, if you can't get a publisher, which some games can't, or some people don't want to do that, it's easier to, how do I put it, give half of, let's say, a third of your team to another studio for a time being with doing the code development. So they're working on that game whilst they're still working for you. But it's also when if you ever watch credits, you can say, "Oh yeah, we also helped build this game," which helps means in the future you can say, "Oh yeah, we've done code development before. We've worked on, let's say, this project, and this project." So we were very comfortable working with multiple teams.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the most dangerous parts of like a studio's life cycle is that the period of time between when your game is sent off for certification uh, by platform holders, and you're waiting on that release to come out and waiting doing that final marketing push. That sort of few months before the game comes out is like that's the dangerous part of development if you've not got enough money in the bank, to get you through to hopefully the game selling and stuff. So we try to mitigate that as much as we can by making sure that we're not sat here waiting um, in the hopes that the game sells and then we can take the royalties on the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not how it would be. Very dangerous for us to do that because it's essentially it's a roulette wheel at that point, and it's a bad way to do games business. Um, but we've managed to maintain some of that sustainability because as we probably like wrap on Good Boy, it probably we put the team onto some co-development projects or something like that to sort of fill that gap before you jump into the next game straight away.
Yeah, because you mentioned you've got, because one of the things I always say for studios, never solely have one project.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Because if that project,
dangerous.
yeah, because if that project fails, you have no backup. And it's
Yep,
like, I'm not saying put two full games on in production. I'm saying maybe have one game in full production and then have a prototype in production. Because at least then,
yeah,
let's say you have an animator who's just finished all their work for the main game, and they've got no more work coming in for the next what 4 week 3 weeks, depending on,
yep,
you're paying that animator for 4 weeks of just twiddling thumbs if they're a specialist. Now, if you've got a secondary project, chuck them onto the secondary project. You get They stay happy because they're not going to get annoyed saying I could be sat at home playing games and or you'd not go give me work. Why am I here? Because let's
yep,
face it,
absolutely.
I swear 90% of the games industry have ADHD or undiagnosed ADHD. Because let's face
Yeah, I think it's probably quite high.
it.
I
Yeah.
myself have it, so it's a struggle to everyday life can be a struggle with it sometimes. So
Yeah, because you get that hyper fixation on, ooh, must fix this bug. 6 hours later, oh crap, I was meant to go cook food.
yeah. You can.
Aldi's still
It's easy
open. I'm
to
gonna
get.
leg it there and grab a takeaway.
Yeah, it's easy to get pulled into stuff, but I think for me personally, I've learned very quickly about like things like priority. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I've learned very quickly now to sort of give myself the prod to say, is this actually high priority compared to this other thing that I need to do? Um, it's fine to be like, oh, this is a 20-second fix for something, or this is like 2 minutes or something, but I try not to let myself fall into the trap of getting sucked into something that's not part of, something that
Yeah,
needs to be delivered.
I use the 80-20 rule.
Yeah,
I
that
focus
sounds pretty good.
I focus on the 20% rather than the 80 because half time if the 8 you put like one big thing and one small thing, and then magically enough through the day when you're getting annoyed with, let's say, the 20, you jump onto a small thing and think, oh wait, I just fixed this bug. Now if I
Yeah,
create
yeah,
this and connect it to this fixes, ooh, that's fixed two of the bugs, and you end up, it's amazing what happens when you focus on two things and you get 10 things done in.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I can't focus on two things. I'm really bad for it. People always joke that I'm the worst multitasker in the world, and don't get me wrong. Like when I am focused on a task, like I can really go to town and get it done well. But yeah, multitasking, I'm just terrible. As soon as that happens, I just fall apart.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm similar. It's just like quite literally, you start getting annoyed by the smallest thing and just think, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Just, and
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
so, what engine are you using to build Good Boy?
So we're using Unreal Engine 5. There's a lot of fancy bells and whistles for us to use in Unreal Engine 5, but in all honesty, we scaled back a few of the more modern methods because we wanted to be able to release across as many platforms as possible. And obviously, one of those platforms is Switch 2, which is now public knowledge. And we're also really wanting to target the Steam Deck and get the Steam Deck to be like a really great platform to play the game on, because we think it plays really nicely on the Steam Deck and it plays nice on the on those handheld screens, and it's nice. It's a nice chilled out game. It's a perfect sort of handheld, lay back, relax in bed and play it. Um,
How
but in
could
order to like get across all those platforms, that's we can't use. I mean, you can, but we're an indie team. We don't have the same sort of like optimization and technical expertise that bigger studios would have in order to get those fancy things running on a handheld device. So we had to think as scalable as possible. Like we wanted it to look good across all platforms, and so a lot of the methods that we've used to do that meant that we had to basically, turn off the Lumen, turn off the Nanite, go back to how we were making games in UDK and Unreal 4, and that sort of pipeline of
yeah.
like making things much simpler, like manually creating LODs, and yeah, it just yeah.
Okay, you've mentioned UDK. I have to ask, did you ever learn Unreal Script?
What Kismet or
No, I mean Unreal Script, because Unreal had two. Yeah, so it had Kismet, which then turned into Blueprint,
yeah,
which I sometimes when I'm talking to some of the newer devs, I'm talking the ones who've just come out of uni. It's like, oh, so you use
yeah,
Kismet? What? No, we use Blueprint. My brain's gone back to UDK days. Like it says, oh, Kismet is. So for those who don't know, Kismet is the precursor to Blueprint.
yep.
No, not
It's
in.
exactly the same. It
Yeah,
does work exactly the same. I don't know why
no,
they
no, it
renamed it,
doesn't
but
work. Do you know? Remember Matinee? A Matinee?
yes,
Yes.
Matinee's the
Yeah,
game
yeah, yeah.
sequences.
Do you know in Unreal when we were in uni, it was Unreal 4 because 5 only came out recently, right?
Yeah, I think Unreal 4 came out just as I went to university.
No, it was out before then, because my year. So, for those who don't know, we what? Whenever started college, I started uni, and whenever you finished uni, I finished. When you started
Yeah, pretty
uni,
much.
I finished
Yeah, we
uni.
were.
So my year was using Unreal 4, right? Because it came out in the final year. Unreal 3, if you know Kismet, when it finished Kismet, it then went on to the next action. In
Yeah.
Unreal 4, if it had an action, it would play the animation, but then instantly play any effects afterwards.
Ah, right, nice.
Yeah, so one of the team projects we have, is it Journeyman?
Yeah, yeah. Second year university at Teesside. Yeah, journeyman.
Yeah, Journeyman, and then we have a team project in the third year. That
Yes.
project, sadly, my team lost its programmer, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. It took us about 3 weeks to figure out it was firing instantly instead
Yeah,
of waiting, because we'd just gone from UDK where it fired at the end to the point where to Unreal 4 where it just triggered it straight out.
yeah.
That was a
Just the
nightmare.
sequence order worked so much. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was an artist, so I didn't touch any of that. Like, I only got into blueprinting when we were trying to get the game like off the ground and prototyping the game. So yeah, I was but an artist trying to figure out my ways around the engine.
Oh, you were an artist. I thought you did programming. That's where
Nope, I've never done any engineering in my life.
I...
I mean, like the only time I ever did any kind of like engineering was like action script flash games, like I want to say like over 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, as Flash was dying basically. Great skill to get.
Oh yeah, but we still got taught it in college. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, I think I've got me. I looked at one or two profiles today, and I think I've got it mixed up. But yeah, um, so how is it gone from? How do you feel like you've gone from being an artist to the founder of
Yeah,
Observation? So,
so I think that the for me, I was really lucky when I got out of university. I managed to land a job at Ubisoft. So I learned so much about being an artist at Ubisoft. I was there for about 2 years, and I launched the Division 2, and then there was the DLC that launched when just as I left. Um, and then I've been of quite a few places, but as I've sort of just grew more into like a management role in art when I became a lead artist, I eventually so I used to work with Bruce Slater at Radical Forge, um, and I go quite far back now with Bruce, and we've got a good friendship, and we still work together on stuff. And I basically said to Bruce because I'd left Radical Forge to go work on the Lego Horizon game, um, and I left for like 6 months, and I was like, I really want to just make the jump into doing something indie now. So then I said to Bruce, I was like, I really want to go indie. Can I come back and I'll help you out with some of the stuff that you need sorting on this project? But like, I'd really appreciate it if like you could give me some tips, give me some advice, because I eventually want to go indie. So I went back fully with the intention of eventually trying to make the jump, and Bruce was really supportive of that as well. Um, and yeah, then just sort of whilst I was there, Bruce gave me the opportunity to basically just learn more about business development, learn more about pitching games, learn more about that environment. And that sort of gave me like a sort of a year-long crash course. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity that I had because I learned so much in that time. And it just sort of gave me like a crash course for a year before jumping into business, where it was like almost like a bit of like practical work experience doing it, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, because
I must.
I'm at the moment going in face blind. I've been a graphic designer for 8 years, so I've got some business skills, but it's just like going into games, it's completely different to any other industry.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the time, like I don't know, I feel a lot of people put like a lot of people put a wall up, and like biz dev in games I think is quite gate kept at times, and people say how, you know, it's one of the hardest jobs in there. And it is like, it's a hard job because it's people's jobs and livelihoods depend on the success of you managing to find work and business and stuff. So it is definitely like one of the more stressful positions. But in terms of like the process that we've had to go and find stuff and get work in, like most of the time it has just come down to letting the work speak for itself and just generally being nice people to work with. Like it doesn't get much more complicated than that. Like, are you competent at the things you can do? Like, do you have some experience of the things you can do? And are you nice to work with? Like, if you can answer those three, like say yes to everything as a studio, like there will be some work for you to find. Like it's not as like it's really gate kept, but it's not as difficult as a lot of people will make out for you to go out and find the work to help you get set up as a studio.
Yeah,
Um,
and at times I find it a lot of people don't want to talk to people. It's like when you go to events, you'll always have certain teams just clumped, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then
definitely.
that's great. You people may come to you, but ideally, if you're wanting to work, let's say if you got any, let's say freelancer jobs going, it's like I'm not gonna lie, the work at times, link people hate LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has to be one of the best for it. You just message the person who's running HR on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
LinkedIn. Hi, let's just say hi. I'm a fresh graduate. I've just come out of uni. I'm looking for some. Let's say I'm just gone freelance. Are you looking for any work going? Is there any work going? Blah blah blah. Here's my portfolio. Blah blah blah. And and if you can do it in person, it's even better because it's the 3 point rule. Do you know what I mean
yeah.
by the 3 point rule?
Or like 3 points of contact,
Yeah,
or
3 points of contact,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you hear the name 3 times.
yeah, yeah,
It's like
yeah, definitely.
You mentioned Bruce to any room, they'll instantly know him because of how many events he goes to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I know him due to is it Gamebridge?
Yep,
Yeah,
Bruce helped from Cambridge. Yeah,
yeah, and let's say we also went to uni together because we graduated the same year. But you know him because he's always there. If you're just in your own corner, it's hard.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like, you've got to be social, which is obviously very difficult for a lot of people. And I think games in particular, um, I think it's quite difficult for a lot of people because I think there's a lot of people in games that, like myself, suffer with like a lot of like social anxiety issues, like being neurodivergent. Like it's hard to go out and speak to people. And I've had friends who've tried to like build studios and stuff. And one of the biggest things that they say to me is being neurodivergent. They really struggle to really like speak to people at these events and really struggle to just sort of like big themselves up. Like it's weird, right? Because like, and I find this with like a lot of people, including myself. Like it's really really hard, especially when you are neurodivergent, to really sell yourself, if you know what I mean. Like to really sort of give the sales pitch of yourself whilst maintaining that like the genuineness of an interaction, if that makes sense. Because you can go and cold message people, and you can go and like really lay on the sales pitch of someone strong. And I've always found I hate that if someone comes to me and lays on like a sales pitch to me of something that they want to provide. Immediately, I know they've sent this to 500 other people through some AI bot that's scraped a bunch of founders off of LinkedIn
Mm.
and has just sent this message en masse to a bunch of people. Whereas, like me personally, like I've always found that, and this is like especially true for the UK and maybe not so much for the US, um, because the US I've found is very culturally different. And I think that comes from a bit of like American exceptionalism, whereas
Yeah,
the UK is a lot more like self-deprecating, like
we
we can
doubt
have a joke about
ourselves at
ourselves.
times.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when someone shows that like sort of like character flaw of being like, well, when you're talking about getting some work done or something, you're like, well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
um, and it's that sort of like self-deprecating nature that I've found that whenever I've had a discussion with someone or wherever I'm networking with people, being able to be yourself and just being able to say like, pe- work talks for itself, right? When people see good work, like they recognize that, and then when they know you can do good work, when they know you can deliver on time, when they know that you're really good to work with, your character traits have been like. And I'm not saying, by the way, that people should go out and be like, oh yeah, I totally suck at this, I can't do this, or anything like that. But like being able to like acknowledge the fact that like making games is really bloody stressful, um, and it's hard, and it's a long process, and it takes time, and sometimes you might do something and you think this sucks, and like just being able to have that in your personality of knowing that you are a human being and not just a sales bot. Do you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, has always sort of helped us in finding work by literally just being ourselves and just having that same sort of level of self-deprecating humor that we would have when talking in the office about something and being like, oh god, I think this I think this system's like a piece of crap that I've designed, and like just joking about stuff like that. That sort of like self-deprecating sense of humor and dry humor, I think of the I think it's sort of overlooked sometimes, and it's culturally what makes British studios, I think, stand out a lot, especially when I've spoken to like American studios and working with American studios, is that dry humor and that British sense of like self-deprecation. Like it makes working with British studios stand out a bit, I think.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Um,
It's you have to be personable.
Yeah, that's it, right? Be personable. That's definitely it. And everyone's flawed as a human being. No one's perfect. And when someone can see that, you're honest about your flaws, especially, I think that resonates a lot with people. Me personally, it resonates with me well. Like, if
Yeah,
someone has a character flaw and they've shown a character flaw for me that's not like they're an awful human being, but it's just that they're only human and they're not just there as like this is sales bot 9,000 and I'm going around and I'm going to give everyone the same spiel. Like, I don't know, that for me has always been the real gem and the real beauty of working in indie games is you tend to find people are a lot more real, if that makes sense, and not
yeah,
fake
because you
and trying to
find
sell stuff all the time.
you, it's like if you walk up to, if someone walks up to you saying, "Oh, I can do this. Oh, I'm tenfold better than him." You're like,
Yeah, that's a big red flag.
"Yeah, that's a big red flag. You haven't seen his work, so how do you know you're tenfold?" And it's like,
Yeah,
and if they can't admit that they've screwed up, it causes conflict because if something goes wrong in the project, they will deflect it onto, oh, it was if it's, let's say, a UI issue and they're the one who built it, but they've not put the I'm a Unity developer, By the way, there is going to be an engine question popping up soon. Um, I'm a Unity developer, so I know for the fact if I put one wrong image into one thing, and it will cause a technical bug. Because I do, even though my degree's in animation, I do
Yeah.
gameplay programming. I'm a I'm a self-taught programmer, so yeah.
But that's how you got to be indie, right? You end up like
Hmm.
doing everything
Yeah,
essentially.
it's like for me, I'm a developer, I'm a programmer. I can do 3D art. I'm not gonna lie, I have been buying a lot of assets just for speed building recently.
On that note, quickly, because I really want to like just put this out there to all developers. Buying store-bought assets is not a bad thing, and I really want to end this stigma that happens. I think a lot of people, especially like developers that are just coming through now, like if you're in university and you're trying to build a portfolio, don't buy store-bought assets. If you're trying to make a video game and you're on a production timeline, use those store-bought assets like to save you so much time, because if you're like it automatically increases the scope of the game that a smaller team can make, because you don't need a team of 100 artists making all these cars or all these like small props. Like the number of games that I've been on, like even at a triple A level, where I would probably say that like 70 to 80% of the assets you see in the game are store bought, because a rock is a rock.
Yeah,
A rock is a rock. A tree is a tree, and you obviously have variations. Like, is it stylized chunky tree? Is it like a realistic like nanite tree? Is it I don't know, like a polygonal or poly stylized tree? Like, you obviously have those styles, but they all exist. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if you wanted to do something that's a little bit different, you have to realize that like if you want to do something completely different to what's been done before, and that is like really admirable. Like, I think that something like if you take a look at like Obra Dinn, for example, from Lucas Pope, like the way that Obra Dinn looks and its visuals are really unique. Um, and I think that there's a lot of work that's going on in the shader in the post process to handle a lot of that. And I'm not gonna lie, like it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the game was also store bought assets, but it's what you do to the game as a whole that makes it your own, that makes it unique, that makes it a thing that's not, if you go and buy store bought, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know like the horror plugin for Unreal is really popular, or like the narrative plugin for Unreal, um, and I've seen games that win, get nominated for Game of the Year and stuff, and they're using all the same plugins and stuff that all these indie devs are using to save time, and I genuinely think that it's not. You should never like discredit yourself because you're using a store bought stuff. And I think that it's just so important that if you've got an ambitious idea, the store bought stuff is like it might be 10 to 20% on the way to helping you realize the scope that you want. And I just find that stuff is. I think there's a real stigma around using it. And I think it sort of comes from. I remember back in the day of like, I think it was probably like 2015, 2016. Um, I was watching a lot of YouTube, and there was a big thing on. I can't remember which journalist it was. I think there was a journalist at the time that was basically making videos and like pointing out some of the flaws in Steam, that like there was so many like Unity asset flips that were like going through at the time. Um, and if you're just doing an asset flip, obviously that is completely out of order. Like you
yeah.
can't just take an asset pack for some gameplay and some assets and just put that onto the store. Like there's no creativity that's gone on there. There's nothing new and unique. And because like the people doing that, they aren't the only ones who've had that idea. So that's why there's so many abundance of like these asset flips. Um, and it really damaged the reputation, I think, of like Unity at the time.
I'm not
Um,
gonna lie, there was a lot of asset flipping. Pacific. Well, when I say asset flipping, there was a lot of mechanic flipping. For the past 3 years, store simulators.
yeah, yeah,
The
that
become a petrol station, trading card, supermarket, blah 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 blah. They flooded the market for the past what, eight 8 months.
yeah. I think it's because it's when you have a gameplay loop that on the surface is very straightforward. Like, oh, I can buy this thing and then I can get more money to buy the next thing. Like that loop of buying stuff is on a surface level very straightforward. When it's done well is when you get the games that succeed in that category, because economy balancing in games is very much not straightforward. It's really, really hard. So when you get games that do it well and put the layer of polish on it, and you see the games that do well from that, um, was it like Supermarket Simulator or one of them that like did quite well?
Yeah,
And
Supermarket Simulator was the first one. After Supermarket, I believe it was the trading card one, and then you just got a lot of
yeah, and
not.
if that's that, but that's the thing, right? Anytime you get like a gameplay loop that, like I say, on a surface level is easy to recreate, you're always going to get like clones and different stuff. But you know, when you actually are good at doing that economy balancing, when you do it well, that's why you stand out above the rest. And I think that's, a lot of people are really really worried about, and I'm trying to maintain a stance on this without being as, I guess, like controversial about it, like on the stance of like AI, and
Hmm.
people are worried about AI games like taking over the storefront and just so much AI slop going out. And I'm like, the market always decides, right? Like, if people are putting out AI slop, the market's not going to care about it. Like, it's always going to decide to go for those handcrafted, really, really good, juicy games that, you know, and I do think that, we've got at least another 10, 15 years in my mind. I know people saying, oh, it could be 2 years, 3 years. I think that, yeah, those games will be coming through in 2, 3 years, where it will be like that. You scroll through like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and you've just got like some AI channel that's gone and told an AI to make content for their channel and then upload it to 100 different accounts.
Mm.
And I think you are going to start to see that as well, in games, unless, you know, I think Steam are pretty receptive to this, and
Yeah,
always
because don't you have to with Steam you have to
you
declare
have to
if it's an
declare.
AI.
Yeah,
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook also have now added AI declarations. If you've found breaching that, you can get your channel either shadowed or deleted, depending on how many times. Um,
yeah. Well,
uh,
I'm personally, I'm not too worried about it, because I know that, like, people aren't stupid. People want stuff that's been made by. I don't think AI is anywhere near to the level of making games that can compete with actual human talent and skill. Um, I know there's like a blurred line of like how much is then, like, I think, was it Arc Raiders recently that came out and had a bit of controversy because they had some AI voice lines in
oh
there.
no, yes. So here's the controversial thing, which it was one journalist who came out with that. Is because they started using the voice actors voicing to do some of the lines. But here's the difference between what one studio did and what they did. They got the consent
Ah,
of
see there, that's the thing, right? Is
yeah, they got the consent of the voice actors. They said yes, fine, do it. If let's say I've got jobs going on, I can't come back. We they could the parliament saying, "Oh, we've got an AI that can do it. Will you allow us to use your AI, an AI to replicate your voice for these lines? If yes, you will give you, let's say, a 30% kickback off your for using your voice." or some
Yeah,
a
I think that's the
small
thing.
kickback.
Like, I think
Uh,
as long as people give consent and are compensated, like, I think that's the thing that's important in those scenarios, because that is, stuff like that is helpful in game development where if it's done ethically to the point where, yeah, the availability doesn't line up, but we need to do this, this, and this. I can see why, it really improves some of the development stuff. But the problem is that, like, it is a powerful tool and people will use it like unethically, and
hmm.
people will use it in a way that, is exploitative, is bad. Um, but as a general rule, like, talking about the YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels and stuff like that, it's very easy right now. If you wanted to, you could go out and start creating all these hundreds of accounts that are pumping out AI slop that there is no thought that goes into it whatsoever. You just ask it for an idea, and then it goes through the entire process of all the different LLMs, and then it eventually spits it out at the end. Um, there is nothing like that for games, and people keep saying, "Oh, what's going to come for games?" I do not see how in any world it possibly could.
And
There is so much more that is going on. Like,
I know
maybe I'm
there's
just not smart enough, but like, there's no level of hardware in the world that could possibly compute all the different things required to make a cohesive, strong video game
yeah,
that makes sense. If that makes sense, like,
yeah,
it's not just
because
like you're making a scene from a movie or making an entire movie. Like, there's so much more that goes on with a video game than a movie that an AI can't. It just will never do that in 100 years. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, because it can't dictate game loops. So when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
playing,
exactly.
so like best example is it Elden Ring when you have to, even though you defeat the boss still kills you. Do you know the first
Yeah,
boss?
yeah,
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 yeah, the
yeah,
first
yeah.
boss, it still kills you. So it's just easier just to run off the edge of the cliff and somehow magically skip the entire boss fight. But an AI would never come up with that. You can tell a person came up with that idea because it's just like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
get this person to prove their skill, but then just still slap them down.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and I think that's the real thing as why I'm not too concerned with it, because of the fact that by the time, if you think about all the stuff that you would have to, like, tell an AI to do as a human that would have to interact with it, all of the stuff that you're telling the AI to do, by the point that it gets to the end, you may as well have just done it yourself. It
Yeah,
doesn't speed up that process. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Because what? You'd have to
it's
feed the AI an entire game document, all the game assets, tell it to work out a good game level, and it could take 6 to 7 months for that AI just to come out with its first iteration because of it. It'll have because by the time you may get something out with well, what, a week. Oh yeah, here's the first 2 levels. Why is this tree combined with this asset fix this? But then when you fix it, it recalculates it. It could have screwed up another entire sector.
Yeah, definitely. And I always find as well, like, I was really surprised when the big buzzword of AI was being pushed around everywhere, because generally speaking, like, working in games, a lot of the stuff that they would talk about, I'm like, yeah, games have sort of had this for years. Like, procedural generation of stuff based on like an input is like a thing that games have had for years. Like, like software like Houdini, for example, when Houdini came around and you could do like fluid sims and all these different sims for stuff.
And speed
Like,
tree.
and speed tree, yeah, and you could just generate stuff based on like a basic input, and it's like, we've had this for years. This isn't like new revolutionary to game development. Like, I think the image generation stuff, like, that's obviously like a whole new thing, but it's never going to do something that's better than what I can tell an artist to do.
The image
There's no nuance
generation
in
for me,
understanding.
yeah, for image generation for me puts question in where it sourced those assets because
Yeah, exactly. Like it feels unethical. It feels like I'm ripping someone off,
Yeah,
and
but
like someone's getting rich off the hard work of artists
mm,
that haven't been compensated or given consent.
for me, when I'm using I use it for when I'm coding.
Yeah,
So I type code out. It does it 90% of the way, but at times it's doing a weird glitch midway through or just at the end. It's giving me all the prompts and then it fails that section, and I'm racking my brain for half an hour and I think, what's going on here? Why can't I just basically chuck it into ChatGPT? Tell me what you think it's doing. Oh, it tells me what it's trying. Well, half time it tells me what I'm trying to do, but there's this glitch here. Here's the fix. All it is like say two or three variables put in the wrong way around, and it
yeah, and I think that's the only thing that it's really good for is it's good as a personal assistant. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? Like it's the Siri and OK Google of like my phone literally just went off as I said that. It's those like sort of phone personal assistants that what they were kind of advertised as like 10 years ago, and that's kind of what it is, if that makes sense. And I
Yeah,
think that's fine. Like
it's like
if it
Gemini.
wasn't for the I guess like environmental implications of using it, like I wish there was like more ethical ways that weren't as hard. Like if you wanted to like I know there's like ways there where you can get the same sort of thing that ChatGPT does, but get it running like on a local server, so you can do it so that it's not as like environmentally damaging to the world. And there's a lot of implications from that. But yeah, I know I've gone off on a tangent here on stuff, and it's one of those subjects that when you talk about it, like it's so easy to get involved with.
You
But
actually covered one of the things I did want to bring up, with store bought assets, because it's like, for me, I like to model my own ones for the final product, especially if it's very unique. But so I've got, can I make a phone on it? Can I make a game on a phone?
yeah.
I'm hating the challenge.
Do you mean can you make the game on it? Like can you code it within
Can you
the
make
phone?
it
Can you
3D
compile and
animate?
stuff?
So it's doable. It's a nightmare. You have to use Godot,
Yeah,
because Godot there's two engines. There's half a dozen engines you can get on the phone. Two of them are GDevelop, and one is Godot. For me, so ironically, you kind of pressed on a point. The thing I have to do at the moment is I'm having to use a asset store items,
yeah.
and you probably come across these more often than you might think. This one,
Cinti Studios, yeah, I
yeah.
remember these. Yeah. I have seen Cinti assets like in so many different games.
Mm-hmm.
Um and there's some really lovely stuff in there. I always tend to find that when it comes to store-bought assets, the one thing that we won't generally tend to use is characters. Like characters, like they're kind of like the heart and soul of your game.
Yeah,
Um, and it depends. Like if you really wanted to do like a narrative focused thing where you want more like heavier narrative, like obviously the way characters look and how they're described and how they animate and stuff, that is kind of part of that storytelling, right? Like you have to.
yeah,
But if
because
you're making a game where that's not necessarily the focus, like it might be fine to use characters that are store bought. But
yeah,
generally speaking, for narrative stuff, we wouldn't use. We'd create our own characters.
yeah. For me, I'm having to use their assets. I can't
Yeah,
model and I can't 3D animate on an S22 Ultra.
but this is where like the limitations like come in and can make stuff even better, right? Like because you've got that limitation, there's creative solutions to get around that limitation.
Yeah,
If you
so
don't have a character artist, there's creative things that you can do to get around that. It might mean that you don't necessarily need to do something that's really narrative heavy. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Or like character focused, if you know what I mean.
yeah. So I think for my this is a challenge series I'm doing where I have to make a game on this phone. Luckily, did you use Samsung iPhone?
I was on Android for years and years and then switched back to iPhone. I sort of just switched between them, to be honest.
Yeah, so iPhone has Sidecar, doesn't it?
I've no idea.
Yeah, so if you plug your phone into like into a monitor into using an an adapter like this with a
Oh
HDMI,
yeah, yeah.
you can plug a screen in.
Oh, I never even knew that.
I think I know pros can do it. I'm not sure if this bog standard ones can, but it won't surprise me if it's just locked behind a feature paywall.
Yeah.
But any S series device, providing it's not the FE series, has DeX, which basically allows. I can't show. Actually, my screen is going to go a little bit different from my personal screen. Gives me this.
Ah, nice.
This is my phone.
Oh, that's crazy. So then you can just use it like a normal desktop OS, really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So
That's
this
a
is
pretty
how
cool
I'm.
challenge, though.
Yeah, this is how I'm doing my game development. But if you have like a at least a current gen tablet. Wait a sec, I'm showing you a tablet which obviously you can't see because I'm showing my phone screen. Please say you haven't locked. Yeah, one sec. Yeah. I'm using the back cameras and I've got it on a tripod, so I don't have access to the front screen as often.
Oh,
But
that's
yeah,
cool.
what I can do is use this tablet with Godot, and this is when I find out it's forced a Windows update on it. um, oh, seriously, I unlock you and you relock yourself again. Mm. If you like, so there's like Smart View on Samsungs, which allow you to cast it to any smart TV, and it turns your
Ah, nice.
TV
Yeah.
into a project into basically it mirrors this. So if you then open Godot, it should just displays that.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
pretty
cool.
much you
Yeah,
just have a limitation of your screen size.
yeah, I never thought about it. Making a game on a tablet or a phone, like in a mobile operating system, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Excited to see where you go with it.
Yeah, trust me, it's gonna be a fun one to do. Okay, so this is a 60-second question. Do
Yep.
you believe going to uni is an advantage or a disadvantage for game development as of the moment?
Big question in 60 seconds, and I'll try to answer it as quickly as I can. But um, yes and no, which is not a really helpful answer. Yes, I believe for me personally, it gave me the structure and sort of allowed me to make life mistakes and stuff, and let me grow as a person. Let me meet some of my best friends that I'm still friends with today. Gave me that structure to learn. Um, where I came from really low income background. I got like the full grant and everything when I went to university, so it gave me some financial coverage whilst I was learning. Um, but that being said, it is not a requirement, and if you the earlier you can start making stuff, the better. when it comes to this sort of stuff. Um, and just know that for the longest time, probably several years, you will be quite rubbish when you start out. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Like you've got nothing but time when you're younger, and even when if you're older and trying to transition careers, like just know that you need to allow yourself some time to learn to get up and be oven ready. I think is what education calls it now, oven ready. Um, yeah, I personally think it was worth it for me, but the new rules in the United Kingdom are quite abhorrent to students. So um, it's especially harsh now with some of the loans and grants. You don't even get a grant anymore; it's just a loan. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the grant was scrapped out, so now it's all loan.
Oof, that's rough. Okay, you mentioned you are partnered with Team 17 for Good Boy. Did you go to them or did they come to you?
So when I started Observer, I always knew that like I wanted us to work with Team 17 if we could. They were someone we specifically targeted. Um, it helped that like some of us had worked at Team 17 before, like some of us knew people who worked at Team 17. We'd been in the industry for quite a while and we'd met people, we knew people, so we knew people that were there. And so it sort of just started out as a, it was like kind of an official meeting, but it was more just a, what do you think to this?
Yeah.
Like, we want to go indie. What do you think to this idea? And then as we got more serious about it and it developed further and further, obviously we eventually then signed with them. But they were always like the first in our minds to go with, especially because myself and Matt, who's our uh, narrative director and level designer, um, we both grew up on like literally around the corner on Dewsbury Road in Ossett, in where Team 17's office was for like decades.
Yeah, because
Um,
they're now in Wakey, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. So now they've moved over to Wakefield. And then when me and Matt were in college, we went and did testing there, and it sort of like shaped us into getting into games. So it was always like the dream to sort of work with them, um, and to now be being published by the studio that sort of shaped our love of gaming, is pretty surreal and crazy. Um, but like I think that it's worth putting like a huge disclaimer on it that you know whilst knowing people didn't obviously get the game signed. The game got signed based on its merit and its potential ability to do well. Um, I think that for anyone else wanting to get into trying to find a publisher, like it helps that we kind of knew people there from the start that we could be like that. I knew that they'd give us the time to basically hear us out, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Um, and I think they probably were surprised that it was oh wow, you've got like quite a nice game here.
Yeah.
So I think it was like, it's always that thing of getting started is really, really hard. But I'd always stood by the sort of, go out into the industry, go work for AAA, go work for AA, go work for indies, get the experience, get to know people. And that sort of set me up to help start the business because I knew so many people that I could speak to about stuff, ask for advice, pitch to. I already had like a network of people that I'd sort of connected with and worked with over the past like 5 6 years. So I think it's always worth putting a disclaimer on that. It's like, oh well, I just reached out by an email and then it got signed. Like no, there was a level of I kind of knew some people there already. Like everyone sort of knows each other in like the UK games industry, so it's like it helps that if someone is friends with you, they'll probably take the time to speak to you and listen to you. Whereas for someone who doesn't know anyone, like it can obviously be a much harder ask. So I always like to, it's easier when you've known people for a few years.
Yeah, it's the why I always emphasize if there's an event, go to it.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
okay.
And
I stay in the Yorkshire based ones because that's just I'm not going to spend 40 odd quid to get to Manchester only to
yeah,
get for it to open at 5 for me to leave at 9:30 just so I can get the last train home. It's always things. Sorry, one thing about people parking on the street down my road. Yeah, they're always like, no. Um, it, my always advice is always go to events. I'm pretty sure you're going to say the same thing, and
yep.
talk to studios. And I'm not going to say maliciously target the AAA studios like Team 17. Would you class Team 17 as indie or would you class it as AAA? Because
They're an indie publisher. They only publish indies and they only have indie level budgets.
hmm,
Uh, well, I mean, they've got their own like
in
they have
house.
their first party games, which are obviously like you can tell they're a much higher production value with like budget and stuff. But in terms of their third party publishing, like they are fairly they call themselves an indie publisher. Um, I mean they are you know they're on the London Stock Exchange, like they are a large company. Like make no mistake, but they are an indie publisher, and they've been great to work with so far. Um, yeah, everyone there's been really really lovely to us. So
I'm so
yeah,
glad that you
enjoying working
cannot
with
hear
them.
my noise gate is cutting out what's going down the road. Um, but yeah, it's just like events. Yeah, because I always find going to events, talking to people, just getting your name out there is always great to have, especially if you want to get noticed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stories that I'm sure when Good Boy comes out, like this, I'll be able to like say more about like the process of it getting signed. But obviously, because we're still in active
Yeah,
development,
yeah. I
like
don't want you to breach that. Please don't say
yeah,
anything
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't.
So I'm sure there'll be stories that I'm able to tell like once the game's actually out, and with I can say more about the process of getting it there. Um, but yeah, I mean, from for what it's worth from me, like especially if you're like based in Yorkshire in the northeast, and the Game Republic, which is run by a big shout out to Jamie Sefton and Dr. Jackie Mulligan. They do a great job running Game Republic and running Gamio. Um, they've been a massive help to us as a studio. Like they've managed to put us in events like EGX. They've put us in front of people. They've introduced us to people. They've been nothing but an absolute dream for the Yorkshire and the Northeast in growing that hub essentially of a network of developers. So if you're based around there, like joining Game Republic and going to those events is definitely 100% worth it. Um,
I know I'm looking into joining, but at the current moment I'm between positions, so I'm watching what I spend and
oh
being.
yeah, of course. Like if you've got the cash for it, it's definitely worth joining.
It's
Um,
just how much it is for a solo at the moment. It's a bit steep.
yeah, but I mean, try talking to Jamie and Jackie, and they might be able to help you out a little bit. But they've been nothing but helpful for us, and I'm really, really, every time we work with them, it's always really nice. So yeah, that's yeah, just speak to people, go out and speak to people. It's the best advice that you can give, and it depends on your goals as well. But you know, being friendly and knowing people and having a network of friends is ultimately gonna serve you so much better in your own career, in your own life, everything else. Like make friends, be nice to people. That's the best advice I could give for both being in games and also for life, I guess.
And okay, so what advice would you give someone who wants to get into games? So I know, in general.
Um, don't rush it. Um, go find all the free resources that you can. A simple Google search will find you much more resources than like more than you can possibly think of. There's so much stuff on YouTube. There's so many channels out there dedicated to each area of development. Whether you want to go into design, whether you want to go into art, whether you want to go into engineering, like whatever you want to do, there are tons of. It's the internet is like the Library of Alexandria, right? Like it has everything you could possibly think of on there, and the easiest way to find it is just by doing a Google search. Um, there's so much information available, but I think that realistically, you just need to figure out as a person what is it that you actually want to do. It might be that you want to be an artist, but you don't know what kind of artist you want to be. And I think that if you're starting completely fresh from blank, like just try everything. Try give everything a taste of everything. See what you have fun with. See what you enjoy. Um, if you want to do design, like do you want to be a level designer? Do you want to be a gameplay designer? Do you want to be an economy designer? Do you want to be a narrative designer? There's so many subgenres of each discipline that you can be anything, like whatever you want to do. Um, and I think the first thing that someone has to do really is figure out what that is that you want. And once you've found like the direction that you want to go in, the rest of it is very straightforward to find. But just know that it's gonna be rubbish. It's not gonna be very good. Um, you just have to be proud of the fact that each day you're making progress. Each day you're better than the last time, and over time, you know, there'll be milestones where you'll be really, really proud of something, and then the next week you'll feel like it's really, really crap, and that's completely normal. But just take your time, don't rush it, figure out what you actually want to do. Don't let yourself get into a job that you actually don't like and then have to pivot later on in your career. Um, make mistakes now.
Yeah, do it early, then don't do it later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I've,
It's
I've,
just the best time to do it. Like when you're trying to figure out how to get into an industry, like the start is always the best time to make mistakes. I mean, you can make mistakes anytime, but if you're gonna make like have most of them be at the start, and that way the rest goes pretty swimmingly.
and if you go and take 5 years out like I do, keep building in mid time, unlike what I did.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I notice a lot of people in university, like when they graduate, and it's especially true because obviously when this like market crash happened and loads of people were being laid off and studios were closing up and down the UK and across the world, like there were students coming out at the time that were incredibly talented students, and 3 4 years before that they would have been instantly hired,
And
like that.
no, we've kind
And
of hit another one, haven't we? We just got over. Supposedly the worst is out, the worst of the layoffs, but I have a feeling there's going to be another one or two because I know
I
Coates.
think,
Is it Coatsing?
yeah, I think I saw something recently in the news about that, but I think that for people going into junior roles from like higher education and university, I can do nothing but feel bad for the people that are doing that because right now it is a very very hard job climate. Um, because all these people were let go in the past few years. Now, as things are picking back up again, the first roles that people are hiring for are all senior and mid roles. And then, I think in a couple more years, I think that the junior roles will have a much more abundance and it'll be back to kind of what it was in the early pandemic time, in terms of getting jobs, um, especially entry level jobs. At least I'm hoping that anyway. I'm hoping that it returns to the point where the industry is actually growing again. Um, but yeah, I think that if you leave university and you've not got a job, it's very important that you still try and do what you can to keep your skills fresh. And that doesn't mean every single day do work. It means that if you have to go, like Matt, for example, who's my best friend, who's our narrative director. Matt didn't get a job straight after university. We were separated because I went down to Ubisoft in Leamington, which sadly is now also shut down. Um, and Matt tried to do the transfuser process, which I don't know if you've seen transfuser. It's sort of like the graduate scheme
That's
where,
with the tentacles, isn't it? Whenever they
I know
show
which
up,
one you
there's
mean. Yeah,
always tentacles and at their
yeah, yeah.
stand.
That's how I've also remembered it from those exact pictures. But the transfuser stuff is like a nationwide. I don't want to say competition, or it's more like an incubator.
Hmm.
But there's funding at the end of it and stuff that like young graduate teams can basically try and take advantage of. And Matt went and did that, and then like it didn't really go anywhere for him at the time. So then he went and just worked as like basically in like IT for like a year or two, and then eventually, every day kept. It didn't necessarily have to be every day, but kept working on the portfolio. He was a designer, so he was doing little mini game jams here and there, and kept his portfolio up to date. And eventually, a job came through, and I think it was Quali where he went to go work, and yeah, just took the first opportunity and then jumped into industry. Like nearly a year and a half to 2 years, like out of industry. Like it can happen. Like if you really want to do it, don't just give up if it doesn't happen at graduation. Like there's it's easy to forget that like you've still got potentially 50, 60 years of life left after graduation from for
Hmm.
a lot of people, obviously. If you go in there from being a bit older, um obviously, if you're a mature student, then you know it
I've
might be a
only
bit
got
more of a
about
struggle and
30
a
in
bit
me.
more. Yeah. But yeah, that's my advice. Like, just don't give up. Like, keep going. Like, you will get there eventually. Like, it really, and it's really easy to be jaded by it and to be like I meet so many students that are just like frustrated, and I understand the frustration, but it's better to just try and have a bit more
Resilience.
try and have a bit more resilience, try and take a bit of control over it. Just say to yourself, like, if it doesn't happen today, it'll happen tomorrow. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, it'll happen the day after that. And just try and keep going with it, because eventually you will be right. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. It's
So yeah.
if you give up the first hurdle, it kind of, this might sound strange. If you give up the first, it's fail. If that makes sense. First
Yeah, if you
attempt of
give up, you're
learning.
definitely not gonna. But like, if you keep going, there's always a chance.
Yeah, because it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I've took a few weeks off my project, but that's mostly because I'm job hunting along with working as a graphic designer, as well as building that, as long as we're building this my YouTube channel, because this is
Yeah,
completely, it's a new channel, so I'm trying to grow this out, which is obviously trying to grow on YouTube is a lot harder than people think it is. It's not like, yay, post one video, get 2,000 subs. It's more like post one video and get 200 views. And I'm doing the 90-day challenge where I've got to post for 90 days and get grow that way. It's
yeah,
it's sticking at it and
yeah, yeah,
not getting disheartened when something fails,
yeah, yeah,
or get
exactly. And
insulted
that
by
resilience,
my hair.
that resilience though is what takes you all the way. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is just resilience and having faith that you'll make it.
Yeah. And okay, this is the question I was going to ask you about the engine. If you had a choice, would you choose Unity or
Unreal
Unreal?
Engine.
Okay, so that is two for Unity, one for Unreal. Okay. And
I'm an artist though, so this is the thing, right? Is that I've always said that Unreal Engine has always been much more accessible to me as an artist.
it's more,
Like,
you can make pretty things easier.
yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Like, whereas in Unity, I don't know how to, you know, code a shader. I don't know shader code. I don't know, like, you can use Amplify, but like,
Substance designer beta. Just you can tell that.
but if you're using like Amplify, for example, Amplify is just a way of trying to convert Unreal artists into Unity artists. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just taking some of that, like, the material editor from Unreal essentially, and just putting it into Unity. Like, I'm very node based. I like my nodes. Um, I'm so used to that now. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've used Unity before, but I personally, like, and I think maybe if I was given time with the engine a little bit more and like the right tools in place that made sense, I think I could probably be converted, especially because some of the direction of Unreal Engine right now is
Uh,
like I
sorry, your mic broke out just then.
oh sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh cool. Yeah, I think the general direction that Unreal Engine's going in, um I don't it's not as scalable across all platforms, which for me is the really important thing, is that I want people to be able to play our games on like everything and anywhere as well as they can. And you know, it's probably years before we're going to be able to get you know Lumen and Nanite running on like a Switch too. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like because we don't have the team that are capable of optimizing that stuff to get it working well with the games that we're making. And if the direction is that they're heading in for that, I I'm very careful about what I say around it because obviously, like Unreal has been a very a
Yeah.
really great engine for us. Um, but like I'm of the firm belief that games should be well optimized, games should be built with optimization in mind, and it does kind of feel like there's a bit of a lean towards let's just have the GPU like rendered like basically use AI to render the frames in between frames and interpolate. And
Over
I'm like,
Nvidia.
I don't, yeah, yeah, and
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't want us to go down that method. I want us to keep optimizing games so that they look great and run well without having to use like frame generation and stuff. And it feels like as an industry, like we're heading more towards that. Um, and I kind of would much prefer it if it just natively ran well.
Yeah,
Um,
I know what you mean. Because it's like for me, I use Unity for one sole reason. I need
okay, yeah,
my so how do you remember I mentioned I'm working on my game? Night in the Main
yeah.
Museum has VR integration,
Ah, right,
and I
nice.
want it to run natively on the headset.
Yeah, yeah,
And I don't believe
definitely.
I could get. I don't have the time or the optimization skills to. Because you've mentioned you've had to strip quite a bit out of the Unreal. So you is it Nanite and other
Yeah,
stuff
Lumen
out
and
of
Nanite.
yeah, out of
It's
Unreal just to get it to
you're just
run on other hardware.
yeah, and that's the thing is that like those features are great, and I wish that I could show off like some of the really old footage of Good Boy that was using Lumen and Nanite because it does look really nice. Like it looks great, but the problem is that like we had to make like concessions in because it was originally like the art style for Good Boy was quite realistic. Like it was, we always use like toys in the garden as like the art direction for the game. And hopefully that translates in the some of the screenshots and gameplay that are on the Steam page. But um, I wouldn't say it was a concession, but we chose when we realised that we wanted to go on multiple platforms, like and especially handheld. Like we realised very quickly that it was probably for the best to just go back to the old ways of optimizing and using, you know, we're using a forward renderer, like going back to like old methods of lighting. Like we have a single directional lighting scene. Um, all of the lights in the caves, for example, like I think we have like maybe two shadow casting lights in like an entire scene. With forward renderers, like you capped at the number of like shadow casting lights that you've got. But because of that, it's also incredibly optimized to run. It runs really well, and make no mistake, I'm not a technical artist in any way, shape, or form. And if any of the engineers see me talking about this, they'll probably like burst out laughing and like Kenan has no idea what he's talking about. But
Oh, so you're saying send this VOD to you? Okay, now I know who to send it to.
but um but yeah, like it's just the stuff that we've done is it's just what you've got to do in order to reach your goals. And if that's did I just hear like an ad or something? Was that my end or your end?
Must be in your end because it wasn't. Not mine.
Oh, I just heard something go off. I think it was might have been my LinkedIn. Um, that was quite scary. Um, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought completely. But yeah, it was just the features that we had to remove, just in order to get stuff running nicely. Um, Great features, just yeah, in terms of getting it for all platforms, it's not really doable for a small team like ours.
Yeah, it's like I've had to cut a lot out of mine at times. It's like I'd love to have my player being able to walk around the house just before they start start, but I know for a fact if I do that, I've got to make everything collidable, make somehow get the stairs to work. It adds
Yeah,
so much more work on my load, more workload on me, and I'm one thing. The reason why I'm currently stressed on my mind is the environment. I'm not an environment
really.
artist, and I've got to build seven iterations of the same environment.
You can do that. I think that's like doable. Just
It's
use one of the kits. Like you'll get to where you need to be
oh,
by
I
using the kit.
once we finish the call, I'll show you the game off.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's just getting to the point where I need to get my head back into that project because me focusing on YouTube and everything, in it's kind of put me a bit of a sidebar on that one. But yeah, for one final question, what got you into games development?
Um, I don't think there was necessarily like a single moment. I think that what got me specifically into games development was I remember playing Oblivion on my Xbox 360, the Elder Scrolls 4, and then I remember playing Fallout 3, and it was Bethesda games, obviously. Um, but then I remember the first time I got a PC in like 2012, and it was like not really high end or anything. It was like what I was able to afford at the time. Like I got it for Christmas, and it basically opened up a whole new world to me where I discovered like the creation kit tools and stuff for Oblivion and Fallout 3. Um, and Skyrim had just come out as well, so there was a bunch of like modding tutorials available for games, and it was modding that stuff that sort of got me into doing it. And then I discovered Unity, and it was around the time that like all these like really cheap indie horror things were on YouTube that everyone was like reacting to back in the day. So I started making just dumb Slenderman games, and yeah, it was just learning how to do like it was nothing complicated or anything. It was literally just like you walk and through a forest and a scary slender man pops up and jump scares you and stuff like like
Yeah,
just dumb stuff like that. That's like the my first game sort of thing. Um, so I guess it was like I guess I can really attribute it to Fallout 3 and Oblivion really in terms of it. But like I mentioned earlier, like I grew up like down the road from Team 17, and I think that sort of first opened up the avenue of, oh, this is a genuine career that you can have by just knowing there was a game studio that locally to me that had made globally recognized games. Obviously with Worms at the time when I was a kid, like Worms was huge. Still is quite big today. Like most people have played Worms. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like
because don't their games going their games are still fun to play even as a mess around game.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, and they recently just had an exhibit for Worms put into Wakefield Museum, and I think you can go play it on like an original Commodore as well, and it still holds up as being a fun game, and I think that's what's so good about it is that even 30 years later, it's still fun.
Yeah, because it's like you play
Um,
them, you don't have to have you don't have to have Street Fighter level skill sets to play the game. It's move. You've got 30 seconds to either
yeah,
shoot, bomb, or get yourself safe from the next attack.
yeah, exactly. Just it's simple fun. But yeah, I'd definitely say those two. Like being living near a game studio and knowing that was a viable career opportunity, and then just playing games and then realizing and getting into like modding sort of made me realize that, oh no, I can actually do this.
Anyway,
What about you? How did you get into it?
it was when I was in high school. One of the games development courses. I think we were like one of the first early adopters of game development courses. But obviously, I'd been playing stuff like classic Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Yeah, no way did I buy the remakes, the remasters in advance. The
Yeah.
I've always loved playing Tomb Raider because Tomb Raider is one of the few games I remember when it first came out in '98.
Yeah, it's another British export as well as Tomb Raider,
Mm-hmm.
made in the UK. In fact, I actually, when I worked in Derby, I actually lived round the corner from Lara Croft Way. Then it renamed a
Yeah,
street after Lara Croft.
wasn't that where the studio was before it
I
shut?
think
Where
it was,
before
yeah,
Core
yeah.
shut
I
down?
think it was, yeah. And I think, yeah, Derby was the
Yeah,
birthplace of
Derby was its
Tomb Raider.
birthplace. But I'm not gonna lie, the game that did kill it was Angel of Darkness. But
Yeah.
there was one key factor that killed Angel of Darkness. The controls were shocking.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that Tomb Raider was trying to evolve with like the console generations and stuff. I remember playing Tomb Raider Legend, and it was one of my favorite Tomb Raider games that they
Oh god,
did.
I remember Legend. I'm not gonna lie, I still, whenever I want to play a Tomb Raider game, I've got 13 or 12, depending on when you want to put it out, because you always get the PlayStation guys. No, it came out in 2013. No, it came out in 2012. It's just you just got the better edition 13. Um, then under Anniversary, I love.
Yeah, Anniversary's good.
I It's only about 2 years ago since I've 2 years ago since I've actually finished Tomb Raider 1 OG.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It was so
Nice.
hard when I was a kid because on the PlayStation you had the crystal saves,
Yeah, that's
where
true.
PC you didn't have crystal saves. It was literally just save whenever you
Quick save.
wanted. You didn't
Yeah.
have that on PC on PlayStation until 2, and they
Did
kind of
you
brought it back in 3 with the crystal saves, where you pick them up and then use them to save.
is Tomb Raider 1 the T-Rex final boss?
Yes. No, T-Rex is
Or is it the
the it's the
halfway point?
it's the first boss you come across in Tomb Raider 1 when you go to Peru.
Right, yeah. That makes sense. Which
Uh,
is the end boss the one where it's like the Egyptian one or the Midas? Is it King Midas?
King Midas is number 1 as well, but that's the second map when
Ah,
you're in
right, okay,
Greece.
yeah. I have played that so many years ago that it's just like loose memories keep popping into my head.
Yeah, because you've got there's 3 iterations of her turning to gold now.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
true.
OG one, then there's the remake one, and then there's the remaster. Then there's the anniversary one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to go back and play those games. They were great.
If you want to get them, just I'd say uh, maybe able to drop you a key for the 1, 2, and 3
Nice. I
because I've
appreciate that.
got some humble bundles which I've not used, and the
Oh,
keys
nice.
are. I hate humble bundle. They've now added expiry dates on their keys.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, if you get the humble
I
choice,
need to
you've
go
got
and check.
1 year from redeeming them before they expire.
I'm gonna have to go and check mine.
It's
Um,
only implemented recently, about in the past 6 months. Anyway, this interview has gone for an hour 35. Like I said, 42 minutes. They always go the intended time. Thank you for your time. for the
No, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If you do know anybody who else would like to join, jump in on this series, please pass on my invitation because
I will
it's
do. A few
um
people I'll pass it on to.
and oh yeah, well this is actually sorry, this is the final question. Are you a studio based team or are you a remote based team?
Both.
Okay.
You can see that I'm currently in a really messy um, office room in my flat, so I'm not in the office currently. We give people the option. They can be fully remote, they can be hybrid, they can work in the studio. It's literally whatever people want to do, what makes them feel most comfortable.
Okay. Anyway, so I will see you in the next podcast, which oh no, obviously not. Kenan. I will see you guys in the next podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you with the next one. I don't know who that's going to be with. I will post who that's going to be with when I know. And yeah, I will see you now. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.